Chinmadeshu, did you have a question somewhere that I didn't answer?
Not that I know of.
Nothing, okay, no, there wasn't something pending. My conscience must be connected with somebody else.
I mean, I could ask a question. What the plan is for today.
Well, maybe if you want to ask a question, we can have a little, be with ourselves for a few minutes. It's possible others will join us now because they may have faced our same problem. What would be your question, Chinmadeshu?
Well, I'm always still confused about when Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gītā, you are not the doer. So we do have freedom, and we want to, and when we're doing something devotional, bhakti, are we not the doer at that point? Do we ever become the doer? I'm not sure exactly what is meant by you are not the doer.
We are the instrument, but the instrument, everything has consciousness. So, my understanding is we are certainly the instrument and not the cause. But if we just have a spoon, we think, oh, the spoon is so that it got consciousness. So we are the instrument for Krishna with consciousness. So we can be a cooperative instrument, or we can be a rebellious instrument. Now, at the moment, we're in the zone where we tend to be rebellious instead of cooperative. So we want to be an instrument of the Lord in a favorable way. This is one way that I can feel is the answer, because we all stop on some of these verses, and some verses make us scratch our head a bit more than others. Is this helpful?
Yes. So, but even though if we are just instruments, we still have to suffer or enjoy the consequences of our actions.
We do. And in the form of karma in the material world, but in the form of prema in the upper world. We fit in harmoniously. And there, what is coming to us is not action and reaction, but it is the joy world. Yes, Daivati Devidasi, welcome. In your car. Is that your house by any chance? Have you got all your kitchen and living quarters in the back of there?
Almost Mars. We run errands and stuff. So.
Okay, no problem. All is good. So the difference between karma and bhakti, the difference between prakrita, mundane, and aprakrita, looking mundane but spiritual, or the other way around, aprakrita is the upper world, and this world looks like the upper world, but it is all going on action and reaction of the individual's misuse of that freedom. So we want to be a good instrument, and everybody has freedom. So the doer, yes, we have freedom, but we think, oh, I am making this, I am making that, I am so clever. But everything has to be sanctioned by the Lord. So again, instrument. Arjuna, in the case of Bhagavad-gītā, or the specific case, then and I don't know exactly the verse number and everything right here, but Krishna is saying to Arjuna, essentially, already this battle has taken place. You can participate and do your duty, be the instrument that you're meant to be. But if you are a failed instrument, it's still going to take place. All these persons, those persons, and he even showed to Arjuna some like frightful form in the 11th canto, 11th chapter, where Krishna's already seeing who's dying on the battlefield. Arjuna's already seeing who's dying on the battlefield, etc. So Krishna is the doer, but we are the instrument to make it happen, and we have the freedom that we are going to participate or no, not participate. Either number one, go on strike, or number two, use our freedom improperly. And the battlefield, I mean, is such a dramatic scene for this kind of teaching to take place. Yet you see repeatedly there, Krishna answers to Arjuna, and he says, smiling gently, and Krishna answers, while, big bloodbath is about to take place, which is a hurdle for some of the new devotees. They say, oh, I thought it was all about love and peace and everything, but here, how is it it's on a battlefield? But again, a battlefield for dharma, for right. And it is difficult for us to understand. So Arjuna was going to be the instrument. The result is up to Krishna. And we can think we've been given seva by Gurudev, and you and I mean, we've been given like directly things to do by Gurudev. And we can say, well, we had freedom to do it or not do it. But we also saw that what Gurudev wanted is going to happen. So we're the instrument, and how we are not the doer, I mean, I've given some examples that you've probably heard before, but those visas for Gurudev, for his tours, I mean, and the tickets and changing the tickets and so many things that took place on those tours. Some of those things, they were practically impossible, but it's Gurudev's wish, and he's wanting the last drop of our resourcefulness, energy and everything else to make it happen. And we can say, I can say, miraculously, only by a miracle did some of those coincidences, actually, if you want to say, but did some of those wishes of Gurudev become real, because the odds were stacked against us, and not only in one case, two cases, three cases, but even 1, 2, 3, right on the same day, one after the other, almost like lined up like ducks or something. I'm not sure what the expression is. And then, when you look back, you kind of smile and look at Gurudev. For me, one example, if we're going to use this visa example, was that I'd have to look back to see what year it was. But whenever most of the Hindus knocked down the mosque in Ayodhya, in India, it was worldwide news that the Hindus destroyed a mosque that the Muslims, hundreds of years ago, erected at Ayodhya, the site of Ramachandra's pastimes. So Ayodhya, very much connected with Ramachandra. The Hindus knocked down the mosque. It was a big deal. There was rioting, all sorts of things. Malaysia is a Muslim country, and they put point blank, no visas for Indian Hindus. So in India, we tried everything and made special petition, this, that, all sorts of things we tried to get the visa. And Gurudev's going on a world tour, and he wants to go to Malaysia. They're inviting him to Malaysia. He wants to go to Malaysia. And then still we cannot do. Then Gurudev saying, then, if you cannot do here, then I'm going to Singapore. Is it possible in Singapore? So then we make some inquiry, and they have the same policy in Singapore. But without trying, we cannot say no. In India, we tried. In Calcutta, we tried. In Delhi. And then we don't have any other options. And we didn't just try. We made, why this is an exception, this, that, and the other, so many things. So anyway, then Gurudev said, so I said, Marsh, may be possible. Then Gurudev said, then come to Singapore and see what arrangement can be done. We came to Singapore. In Singapore, then we went to the embassy and we were successful. However, it was the day that Gurudev was due to fly. And he had the tickets, we got all these things for him to fly from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur. And so we had like almost no time. We had this one day where we had to be successful. Anyway, I am sworn to secrecy, so I cannot say how we did it. But after hours, after the embassy closed, like 4:30, I don't know what time it closed, but we manipulated something and we were able to get the visa, and still we don't know it's going to happen. But after hours, the thing is closed. We are sitting just inside the embassy, just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. And then they gave the visa. And they gave the visa, and like totally surprised and thinking, oh, wow, you know, it's come like this. And then came out, so whatever time it was after hours, it was like 5 o'clock or 5:30, something like this in the evening. And then, you know, immediately come out, call to Gurudev, say, Gurudev, we've got the visa. And so just be ready. We're going to take a taxi now. We're going to take a taxi, come to you, pick you up, or make some arrangement there, you know, somehow or another. Now everything is go for going to the airport. But the flight was, you know, soon. So we had to get from the center of Singapore out to where the flat was, which was on the way to the airport, in fact. Singapore is not very big. But unknown to me, it was the Chinese New Year. It was the eve of the Chinese New Year, the eve of the Chinese New Year. And most of the taxi drivers in Singapore are Chinese. So there are hardly any taxis. And Singapore is very organized. You take a taxi from, you know, a designated taxi place, and there were these queues of people. And then it's myself and Vijay Krishna who was Singapore. We are looking to see, and then it's not possible. If we stand in that queue, we're never going to get on time. And we've got Gurudev's passport, remember. So we are there, and then we're thinking, so we came away from the queue, and we're literally trying to think, okay, if we take the metro up this way, and then we're working it out, still it's going to be impossible, basically, by taking the public transport, the metro. And we're standing there, not at a place, and a taxi pulled right up to us and said, do you need a ride? And we weren't even hailing a taxi. And then, so we just got in the taxi, and then on the way, then by this time it's getting really tight for Gurudev. So we, anyway, had everything arranged. And so we're going to the airport. Oh, then the other thing was, then Gurudev is saying, so you must come also. So myself and Vijay Krishna, we weren't booked. We were not booked to go on the flight. It's Chinese New Year. All the flights are full. They've been booked up. So, and Gurudev said, so you must come also. So then there's Vijay Krishna and myself, who up to this point had no plan to come. No, we're not part of it. We're coming to do the visa. So then Vijay Krishna's calling up the travel agents. They can't, no, booked for ages before, you can't do it. Then he had some contact. He got 2 tickets through a friend of his who was in the agency business. He got 2 tickets. So we got 2 tickets, which were to pick up at the airport. So we got to the flat in time. We met Gurudev. We gave him the passport. We put Gurudev, I think, in the taxi we were in and sent him off. And anyway, Vijay Krishna and myself, we, you know, did our own thing and got to the airport as well. And then at the airport, we all check in and everything. We got there on time. We all check in. Then when we get on the plane, the other thing is the flights were all booked. So we cannot, they were booked like a long time ago for Gurudev, but there were no business class seats because it's Chinese New Year and all the flights are booked, and so this, that, and the other. So we could only get him economy seats, which we never did. We'd always get him business class seats. And then we got on this flight. So we're all together, we go on the flight. And then when we get on the flight, and Vijay Krishna and myself had these tickets with no seat numbers on it, you know, like strange, they give you a ticket with no, because they're these like a last minute tickets that his agent had got him or something. And then they put Vijay Krishna and myself in the business class, because presumably they keep these seats to the very last minute in case any, you know, politicians or something like that come on board. So anyway, so we kind of look at each other. These tickets are not for us. So then I went through to the economy, and there's Gurudev already strapped in the economy, looking all like huddled in, and he's in the middle. And I said, Gurudev, you're sitting in the wrong seats. And Gurudev said, no. I said, no, Gurudev, these are your tickets. And then I explained to him that the tickets are in the front. I tried to do it as easily as possible. And Gurudev, he's already strapped in, is it not necessary? But then anyway, convinced him and Sagar Maharaj, I think, we had 2 tickets. So please, the wrong seats, please come, Gurudev. And when he sat in the business class, he just looked so appropriate, you know, in the big seats and everything. And then Gurudev sitting there and he's smiling. And like this, 1, 2, 3 things that took place, one after the other. And we think, and Gurudev is smiling, and it's like he knew he's going to go to Malaysia. It's going to happen. And we are the instrument. But the instrument has to do something. We didn't just sit back. You can't just sit back, no, you know, it's not possible. I don't think it's worth trying. Like we tried, and that happened. So anyway, for me, this and other things, they're an example of how really we are an instrument for Gurudev. He wants something, then it must happen. The battle of Kurukshetra is going to happen. But he's giving this opportunity to Arjuna. It's his duty. And so similarly, he wants to go to Malaysia, and we're doing at that time the tour arrangements. So our duty to make it happen. So almost like a battle, we got those visas. So, yes, and Bhagavad-gītā is actually amazing all the way through Bhagavad-gītā. I mean, Gurudev said, I read it since I was a child. Well, we've read it. For me, it was the second book I ever read. So I've read it also for now 40 years. And, you know, we got to say, it really is ever fresh. And Bhagavad-gītā, we read all over the place. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are reading the highest book ever to see the light of day, the most important scripture. If all other scriptures in the world are burnt in some big fire, but Chaitanya Charitamrita remains, nothing is lost. All these things we've heard about Chaitanya Charitamrita. Look how many times Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna's Kaviraj is quoting Bhagavad-gītā. Look how many times Guru Maharaj is quoting Bhagavad-gītā. And what's Guru Maharaj giving? The highest things, trying to knock it into our head. The wonder of the land of the Lord. How many times Gurudev, if you look in one book of Gurudev and do a search and see how many times Bhagavad-gītā comes up, for instance, search revealed truth and see how many times. I can probably guess 50. I mean, I can, just as a guess, somebody's right now, Praneshri is typing away to see, you can have a look and see, but it's a good number of times that Gurudev will be referring to Bhagavad-gītā. So, you know, starting from the basic things, and also how we hear the content of Gita from Guru Maharaj and from Gurudev. It's not just, here's a quote, and this is the translation, here it is. No, it's always a living feeling of what's given there. I'd have to look and see to try to find it, but I remember Gurudev, I sort of talking about just this beginning teaching of Bhagavad-gītā, that you're not your body. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumarang yoganang jara. This verse, which we learned a long time ago, where we're going through boyhood, youth, old age, all these things we're going through. And at the time of death, we're changing our body like cloth. But I remember hearing this from Gurudev, and he's like saying with the expression, This is just an everyday thing. It happens all the time. This is what's going to be. Yes, Devi Shakti Devi Rasi, welcome.
Dandavat Maharaj.
Dandavat. We're just talking a little bit about Bhagavad-gītā because Chinmay Devu had a question about how is it we're not the doer when we are doing so many things? Oh, don't show me that picture.
I was watching you on the live video, but I couldn't get the Zoom on this phone. So I got it on this phone. So I was watching you.
Okay, Paramatma. Now I know what Paramatma looks like. One form of Paramatma. Anyway, how Gurudev, I remember how Gurudev just said that, how it came from his mouth about this is an everyday matter. This is where we are. What's this fear of birth and death? This is where we are, changing our body. And somehow, and it's told we should hear Bhagavad-gītā, we should hear all the scriptures from the devotees. And this is an example for me how, yes, we know the verse, we've known the verse for ages, but it comes from Gurudev's mouth, and somehow with him saying it, it just had this, yes, it's natural. Krishna is explaining, this is what happens. So Gita is very much a living thing. I expect we covered Gita in at least some introduction in a previous back to basics. Praneshwari Rishi knows what we've done. By the way, the last 2 days with the devotees, we've been very slowly saying, slowly saying, this Sharira Avidya Jodendriya Taheka Jive Pele Vishaya Shagare Dharmadye Jivayati Loba Moisa Durmati Takajita Katina Samsare Krishna Bora Doya Moy Karivar Jiva Joy Swaprashad Anna Dila Bhai Sain Amrita Pao Radha Krishna Guna Gao Preme Dako Chaitanya Nitai. And we've been saying this slowly. So I'm thinking, oh yes, the back to basics. We went through this word by word. I do not know what number of back to basics it was. But then I also, the first day we did it, I had to go back to my back to basic notes and go to look and see every word, because we become unconscious after all. We become conscious, oh yes, each of the words, this is what we're saying. But then we become unconscious a little bit. So it's good to revisit. But Bhagavad-gītā, it is really our friend, as well as Chaitanya Charitamrita, and etc., etc., etc. But you are making the question from Bhagavad-gītā, so this is bringing a highlight to the Gita. Hare Krishna. And you see, when we are told we need to hear the scripture from the saints, those who realized it. And that's why when we hear from Guru Maharaj and hear from Gurudev, it's all very living. And then when we try to keep all this in mind, be mindful that we are instruments, we are to try to make ourselves harmonious with the Lord's wish, then all wonderful things will come. And then Krishna tells, one who comes to my abode, he never returns to this material world. It's a one-way ticket. There's, when you go into some places, you can go in, but you can't come out. They have that wheel that when you go around, it's got a ratchet on it. So Krishna tells us there's that kind of a wheel then.
Maharaj, you quoted a shloka earlier about giving up the body and age and birth and death and everything. Was that from Bhagavad-gītā?
Yes, dehinosmin yatha dehe.
Do you remember which chapter and verse?
Well, it's very early because Krishna's first teaching in Bhagavad-gita is that you're not your body. So it'll be in chapter 2, and if maybe somebody who's smart and has one eye open can just do a search for Dehi Noshmin. It is for sure.
I think I found it. Chapter 2, text 3. So yeah, Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaram, that one, Yovanam jara.
Yes, tell us the rest.
The entire sloka?
Yes.
Yeah, so after that it's tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. And the translation that I just pulled up the Gita as it is because that's the
Yes.
thing.
Fine, fine.
Yeah, the translation here is, as the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Thank you, Maharaj.
All right, so this is chapter 2, verse number 3.
13.
Or 13, right. Hare Krishna, I'm as a living, in Guru Maharaj's hidden treasure. I mean, of course it's similar. As the living being passes through the bodily changes of childhood, youth, and old age, it similarly attains another body at death. The wise are not deluded by this. But then Gurudev kind of adding that, not only not deluded, it is normal. Then, O son of Kunti, the engagement of the senses with their objects produces the sensations of cold, heat, pleasure, and pain. But these effects are temporary. They come and go. Therefore, O Bharat, you must endure them. O noblest of men, the wise man who is equipoised in pleasure and pain and undisturbed by sense experiences is alone qualified for immortality. Of the asat, destructible objects such as the mutable body and associated phenomena, there is no eternal existence. Of the sat, the eternal object, the soul, there is no destruction or change. The nature of each has been realized by the seers of the truth. Anyway, once we start reading Gita, we don't want to stop reading it. And the other thing is that the verses, even for us, they're kind of very sweet. Matras pashashtukam taya shitoshna sukha dukkha daha agama payino nityastham stitikshasva bharata yang hina vyatayantyete te purusham purushashabha samaduka sukham dhiram somritatvaya kalpate. Well, I can happily make today a appreciation of Bhagavad-gita Day because it is so. And I'll take the liberty to read the introduction, a part of the introduction, because it always is inspiring and still is inspiring. Guru Maharaj introducing the Gita in his introduction, which incidentally he wrote when? Janmastami in the Bengali year 1368. Ooh, I'm not sure what the Bengali year now is, so. Anyhow, Guru Maharaj saying, okay, I'll give a quote from Gita, so some Gita appreciation today, because really Gita, so important for us. Generally, Sri Gita is known as an excellent study of the science of religion. This is Guru Maharaj. The language of Sri Gita is simple and sweet. Its mood is grave extensive and radical. Its thought is succinct, lucid, and impartial. And its logic is sound and natural. Then Guru Maharaj, I'm not exactly sure now what prologue, epilogue. Anyhow, Guru Maharaj is saying, the eloquence of the prologue, epilogue, exposition, review, analysis, synthesis, and delivery. Okay, I'll leave you with those ones. But the eloquence of all of those, of Sri Gita, is unprecedented and charming in the extreme. Sri Gita is activation for the lazy, courage for the fearful, hope for the hopeless, and new life for the dying. Sri Gita unifies and sustains all ranks, whether revolutionary, occultist, optimist, renunciationist, liberationist, or full-fledged theist. From the atheist of grossly crude vision to the most elevated saint, the essential conceptions of all classes of philosopher are illustrated with clear and profound logic. The devotees of the Lord, Bhagavad Bhaktas, and persons on the paths of action, knowledge, and yoga, karmis, jnanis, and yogis, will each find the essence of their paths dealt with in a comprehensive and illuminating manner. And thus the book is highly esteemed by all. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Sri Gita has clearly shown the distinctions between the various paths, such as the path of action, including worship of the gods for worldly fulfillment, and the path of knowledge for the attainment of liberation. Hare Krishna. And this was written, so Bengal year 1368. Not sure, but from Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat in Navadip, Guru Maharaj wrote this introduction. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj.
Yes, I can also read something from Srila Gurudev, if you like. Just very briefly, Chinmoy.
Yes, wonderful.
So what I read just now was from Srila Guru Maharaj, and Srila Gurudev saying, this is from revealed truth. And Gurudev saying that Krishna actually spoke Śrīmad Bhagavad-gītā for the benefit of the conditioned souls of this world. And we see now how famous Bhagavad-gītā is all over the world. If anyone will read Śrīmad Bhagavad-gītā and try to follow Lord Krishna's advice as though Krishna is his own guru, then he must be benefited. If anyone will read Śrīmad Bhagavad-gītā and try to follow Lord Krishna's advice as though Krishna is his own guru, then he must be benefited. If anyone fully surrenders to Krishna in this way, Krishna will never cheat him. Rather, Krishna will always be merciful to him, and all obstacles will be removed from his spiritual life. But that's just a quote which I have sort of straight away, but we can make a book of quotes about why Gita is so good for us all. Yes, Chinmadevu.
So the last sloka that you read was that about the asat and sat, and the jiva soul is part of the sat, which is indestructible and unchangeable.
Yes.
So what does that mean for us as jiva souls? That we never change, we don't grow, we don't like progress. You know, I'm trying to understand what they mean, what Krishna is meaning by not changing.
You are always you. In other words, the asat is the body, the chariot, the vehicle, but you are the driver of the vehicle. It doesn't mean that the driver of the vehicle, when he's 16 years old and when he's 60 years old, is of the same nature. In the same, you know, that, okay, that sat means he's going to be the identical thing all the time. Rather, we're told that the sat is living. We are thinking this is the living thing, and anything eternal has to be eternal, like a mountain, just stays. But the joy of devotional service is that the eternal is living, active, always got reciprocation with the Lord, as opposed to the ambition of the liberationists. They are searching for eternality, but thinking that will be, that sat must be that it has no action, because all they can relate to is action that gives reaction, which binds us to bodies in this world. So this is the difference between here, action and reaction for selfish, self-centered or extended self-centeredness. The difference between that and dedication, which Guru Maharaj points out, that when we take all the unlimited, practically, coverings away from our self, the sat part, the eternal part of ourself, identity with this, identity with that, I am this, this is mine, this is me, this is my pleasure, my. When we take off all the coverings that have been built up over millions of lifetimes, what is left when the coverings are removed? What is left is a devotee, devotion, bhakti, a unit of dedication, and joyful unit of dedication. So this is the nature of eternality in its proper sense, because even those who are searching to be eternal, searching for the sat, but not understanding the dedication, the nature of dedication of the eternal, then they go into what Guru Maharaj describes, the tatashta, the middle point. They're not exploiting, they're not dedicating, but they're alive. But just to be conscious, sooner or later, the tendency to be active is going to emerge. So then when you're going to be active, either you're going to be active in the exploiting the lower energy, which we've been accustomed to before. So again, we're likely to be attracted to something there. Or if we're very fortunate and can get good guidance, we'll be attracted into the plane of all dedication. So that is the eternal plane. From the plane of dedication, there's no inclination, I'm going to stop all dedication so that I'm going to be eternally just sit in meditation. Rather, their eternality is the living eternal life. But the body, Krishna, this is the very beginning of Gita, and Krishna is trying to get Arjuna to see, actually to get us all to see, as Gurudev pointed out there. Arjuna, and Gurudev also points out, Arjuna is the instrument, instrument to draw out these teachings of Krishna for everybody. And the whole Mahabharat's purpose is Bhagavad-gita. It's not only like a moral storybook, which, the Hindu people, they tend to take, oh yes, all the morals they are given in Mahabharata and Ramayana. But the whole purpose of the Mahabharata, the heart of the Mahabharata, is the Bhagavad-gītā. Joyful, positive, eternal life. O sons of nectar, you are sons, children of nectar. Don't be satisfied with anything less. And what is that nectar? To be engaged in service. Also, Gurudev pointed out some examples are given in the scriptures, but he said one example doesn't cover everything. A certain example is being given for a certain, to understand a certain aspect. So we have to also, when we hear descriptions of the upper world, etc., understand that they're trying with mundane words to indicate something which is supramundane. And Guru Maharaj very nicely described, and I've only heard from Guru Maharaj, and of course Gurudev, who is presenting as Guru Maharaj, like signboards, like on the road you get the signboard, go this way, go this way, go this way. But the signboard is not the destination. It's got written on it, Las Vegas. But that's the way to Las Vegas. Go to Las Vegas. And if you're in the north, the signboard is pointing here, but wherever you are, in different aspects of karma yoga or different aspects of complete ignorance, all are pointing. And as Guru Maharaj points out, what are all the scriptures pointing to? Krishna is the supreme origin of everything, origin of every manifestation of the spiritual world. All the signboards are pointing there, but maybe from far away. From far away, then it is little hazy, that's the destination. First of all, don't eat cow, eat goat. Don't eat goat, eat the chicken. Don't eat the chicken. This is it. This is it, this. It's from a distance, then some things are required. But Krishna is the goal of the whole Vedas. And also Bhagavad-gītā, there's a sloka where Krishna says, I am the purpose of the Vedas. The Vedas have come from me. The Vedas are coming to show me. They're coming to give civilized life to animals. And without Krishna consciousness, without some spiritual surge, then human life is actually pure animal life. It's not even, a little bit animal life. It's pure animal life. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Born, growing up, maturing, multiplying, dwindling, dying. Hunger, thirst, happiness, distress. It's pure animal life. But Krishna is saying, what is civilized life? Civilized life has a higher ideal and highest ideal. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad-gītā. Oh, look, I just opened up Revealed Truth, just with the file that's there. And I promise you, right in front of me, Bhagavad-gītā, verse 2, chapter 2, verse 49. Right in front of me. What can I say? Is Gurudev in Bhagavad-gītā. He says, in the early portion of Śrīmad Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains that yoga means practices for progress in life, practices for sympathetic and harmonious dealings with nature. Krishna begins his explanation of yoga by giving inspiration to everyone to avoid selfish action and instead take up yoga. Krishna says, Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 2, verse 49, which is very near where we are, where we just read. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yogat dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvichcha kripanna phala hetava. Quote, you are an eternal jiva soul. Chinmoy Dev Prabhu, I think this is Gurudev talking to you here. You are an eternal jiva soul. You have natural capacity for thinking, feeling and willing. You cannot avoid these aspects of your existence. If you use your natural conscious property to exploit the material nature, you will not be fulfilled. You will be a miser, destined to suffer helplessly. Look how Gurudev is giving the translation. By your nature, you are always active, so do something positive. Otherwise, you will always be the cause of harm to yourself and to others. Hare Krishna. Well, there you are. Krishna is giving some reply to you here. Gurudev, rather, is giving some reply to you. Or maybe Krishna is giving a reply to you through Gurudev. Hare Krishna. All right. I can't believe it's 5:59 on this side of the world. Means 1 minute until we've had our hour. I can't believe it. Hare Krishna. Anybody would like to mention anything about this subject matter? I mean, Gita and Sat and Asat, permanent and temporary, the nature of each. Hare Krishna. Oh, I see some messages. Sorry, I'm missing messages here. I'm taking a moment to read the messages if I have my spectacles, because they're very small. Which was Dehinosme, I was living in, yes. Bengali year 1368 corresponds to 1960. Okay? Many thanks. And Govinda Nandini to everyone. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. From Bhagavad-gītā. Perhaps. So Guru Maharaj wrote that introduction to Gita in 1960. Hare Krishna. Any question or comment from anybody?
Maharaj, where is your Asat location?
Very asat. I'm in the meeting room. This is the meeting room with Chinese. Is there another copy? Home comfort right behind me.
Why?
This is in Chinese. This, at the moment, the main people, well, not the main, I don't know main people, but often this meeting room is used for Chinese because many Chinese are locked down in Chiang Mai. And so we can't have international, there are no tourists, zero tourists, nobody can come in to Thailand. But those who are here, they're here. And so our Chinese devotees are actually very good at preaching, just by their example and being lively and talking with others. And so this room is used for the Chinese a lot. And so actually, sometimes now is early in the morning, so nobody's here, but we do day meetings. And I like to use this room because it's a little like quiet, out of the way. But they are using this room, so several times I'm not allowed in. I put my head around the door and I said, oh, it's full. So I'm in Chiang Mai, the Gupta Govardhan temple, and we'll be here for this week. And then we'll be going to your next door house, Chinmoy Dev. Chinmoy Dev and Doyamoy Devidasi, they purchased the right adjoining, small but very sweet house next to Vila Govinda. I think they're thinking of retiring already. They think, oh, when I retire, I'm going to stay there beside Vila Govinda. And it's a sweet old cottage. I mean, not cottage, but part of a long house. I don't know what you'd call it. I suspect it was all one house at one time, and then they probably divided it up as, you know, as happens in this world. So that's the plan. So man proposes, God disposes. And in this world, you know, it's not the time for making pre-plans very much, because everything changes.
And Shantimoy Devidasi, she bought the place next to us.
Oh, did she?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We'll have the whole block.
And then after that, we can have the whole village. One thing about Vila Govinda, that village where it's located, Vila Govinda is on the side of a hill and it overlooks the whole village. And it's a very quiet village. You can hardly tell anybody lives there. Really. You see the cars in the car, you know, you obviously people are living in all the houses, but it's very quiet. But, you know, we do go out for walks and things sometimes. If I'm out in the village and they're doing kirtan, like Bhogarati or something in the middle of the day, you can hear clearly the kirtan all over the village because it's on the side of a hill. And so like the whole village, you can hear the kartal and mridanga. And so, you know, it's a good place, the whole village. And the cows can hear, they've got a goshala there. The cows can hear. Oh, Govinda Nandini, she's put a little comment here. Lord, quote, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. And she points out that was from Saint Francis. Sounds heavenly. Jai, yes. And talking about St. Francis, it was the Franciscan monks right there in a village near Vila Govinda who invited us for very respectfully, affectionately, and invited us for like a multi-faith, you know, gathering. But the Franciscan monks seem to be friendly. I have to say, some of the other monks, you know, we see them in the street and we kind of we think, okay, you know, they're men of the cloth, we give some respect to them, but very few like give a smile back. But the Franciscan monks practically always, you know, they give a little smile and nod of, you know, okay, we're on the same search kind of thing. All right. Rupanuga Prabhu, everything good in Australia with you all? One minute of news from you. Oh, I frightened you away. Oh. And sometimes Abhinava Prabhu and Kelly, Abhinava Sundar and Kelly Kadamba are with us, but a few days ago they sent me a note and said, we're going off into the bush, which means in Australia, into the outback, you know, where the kangaroos and whatever. I mean, we'll find out where they went, but they said we won't have any internet or anything. That we're throwing our phones away for a week. So we'll get their news later on. You see, that's almost like liberation, detox in this world today, is taking away the internet. Internet has its proper use. I can say something about the internet. When we come to open up the phone or the computer, and if we're going to connect to the internet, we should know why we're connected and use it for that and use it for that only. Otherwise, it's one crazy place. All right. Well, because I am here, that I'm going to have the morning program within just a few minutes. So if there's not any other question, we can leave it here today and we can come on to things another time. And for those, and I know that some are seeing the recordings, maybe through the Facebook page, is it? And in South Africa, we also got a very humble correspondence. They say they signed up for the back to basics, so they must be seeing the recording, because in South Africa it's midnight. So you see, we may be a few just here, but by the internet people do see. And so to everybody who may see this as a recorded form, really we want to be together, keep our feet on the ground, but our head, worshipping the higher plane, knowing it is above our head, but our feet on the ground, to make ourselves a good receiver when they want to give something to us. We cannot push our way there.
Yes, Maharaj.
Right.
And actually, Vila Govinda today joined the group, the Back to Basics group.
Oh, okay.
Not right now, but they requested to join and I accepted, so they are in. We'll soon see them.
Well, it's right now it's midnight or something. I mean, really, it's an uncivilized hour in Vila Govinda. In Vila Govinda, it's now 1:08 a.m.
5 hours, yes.
It's 1 a.m. So I hope that they are in Mishti Shvapna, as they say in Bengali, sweet dreams. And it'll be a similar time in South Africa. So they're seeing recorded. So those, as I say, those who are seeing the recorded version, we must also remember that many may be seeing, and we encourage you, have a look through some of the previous Back to Basics, and you can, if you post some question there that you want addressed, you can send them. Praneshwari Devidasi is looking after this, maybe Praneshwari and Govinda Nandini. I see that you're both very capable in managing these digital things. So if anyone has questions, they can put that, we can see. All right, good devotees everywhere. The world goes on. Facebook and YouTube, thanks to Chinmoy Dev Prabhu and Praneshwari Didi. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely, thanks to you. All right, Rukmini, Devirasi, Ridoy Prabhu, Dayavati, and Fuller Prabhu's driving, right? Fuller Prabhu, Dandavat, drive safely, watch the road.
Use your hands.
All right. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Rock Shrida Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. And Jai Om Vishwapar Srila Bhakti A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. And Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. By the way, I think I may have, I don't know if I mentioned it, probably, but here on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day or a day or two afterwards, we started in Thailand singing day by day Sharanagati. So we have not missed a day, and today we are on, I'm looking to see, but I think it's the 32, song number 32. So we're getting through Sharanagati, and we look forward to it. And now, in a short while after the Aarti, we'll be coming back to the Sharanagati too. Oh, okay, I've got it close. But I think we're on the song 32 of Sharanagati. We just completed the chapter of what is favorable, unfavorable, then favorable. So we're going through Sharanagati, and it is wonderful. And I can encourage you also to go through Sharanagati. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day is a wonderful time to remember his glories, which we all have been doing. And what better way to remember his glories than, once a year, or whenever we remember, once a year, to go through Sharanagati happily. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai
All these humble devotees, Jai, worldwide.
Jai.
And Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Haribo.
See you soon. Wishing you always successful savor days. Jai. Dandavat, Dandavat.